hit the dead president. Dead president, hit them dead presidents.
Let's go, all my little militant. Let's go, I'm innocent.
Dead presidents, hit them dead presidents. Dead presidents, hit them dead presidents.
Feds. Let's go, I'm innocent.
I got that like Tommy Lee. I make money. On my third best.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
At the airport, I got bowling green dollars on my dollars.
Let's go to Adam Schefter now with more on Perez.
His team had one of the best rushing defenses in college this season, and he's probably the biggest reason why. Teams eventually abandoned the run game altogether after they averaged only 1 to 2 yards per carry in the first half. Among linebackers on the team, he would always lead the point of attack, penetrating the opposing team's offensive line. Every tailback that lined up against him seemed to keep one eye on the handoff and the other searching for him. And usually when they found him, it was too late to react. He's one of the best tacklers to come out in years. Hopefully, he'll get on the field soon and help them stop the run.
I make a pick up every single day. I judge a vulture when I flip the paddock face.
Dead presidents, hit the dead presidents. Dead presidents, hit them dead presidents.
Let's go, all my little militant. Let's go, I'm innocent.
Dead presidents, hit them dead presidents.
All right, now that the pick's in, let's go to Adam. Adam, what can you tell us about this guy?
He's a linebacker that wasn't particularly high on anyone's board coming into the offseason. But after the Combine and Pro Day, his name started getting circulated around draft circles as a potential sleeper in this class. And when I spoke to Matt Miller, he told me it wasn't really what he did, but what he didn't do that got everyone's attention. He finished either average or above that in every major test for a linebacker. What you get is a guy that can do everything asked of him and room to grow in several different areas. Coaches like guys in the middle of the field that they don't have to worry about taking out in certain downs, and he can provide that for this team.
Legend in my hood, just like a never riding in the extra car. Dead presidents, hit the dead presidents. Dead presidents, hit them dead presidents.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
Let's go, I'm innocent.
Dead presidents, hit them dead presidents. Dead presidents, hit them dead presidents.
Feds. Let's go, I'm innocent.
Yeah. Starts with a feeling, and you ride it like a wave. Crashing so the sparks can come together. Don't need a reason.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Goes on and on and on and on forever. And it's a long flight on this battle star where we fight for love no matter where we are. And there's a big bang in this universe, and it makes me feel like the gold on way. You got me like ooh, you got me like you got me like and ooh, with all the things you do, yeah, anything and everything a man can feel. Well, honey, I feel it with you. Baby, you're flashing, and I'm blinded by your light. I love the way you Jupiter is rising. You got me reacting like a lunatic tonight. I love the way the stars are all aligning. You got me like ooh, you got me like
The Colts are now on the clock.
you got me like and ooh, with all the things you do, yeah, anything and everything a man can feel. Well, honey, I feel it with you. You got me like ooh, I feel it with you.
You make me feel like the world's spinning like a satellite.
The Saints are now on the clock.
No hard.
The Jets are now on the clock.
Hard knocks. And I learned to be smarter. Don't prefer to be bothered. You get if I order. That's word to my father. I will for my mother. Deal with my brothers. Keep it real, real. Don't talk with no. Plus I duck under covers. Gotta. That did it. Get the cream, look. Drop it.
Adam, what can you tell us about that last pick?
He's a dominant possession receiver, setting his school's single-game record for catches in a game. Todd McShay had him as the #1 wide receiver in this draft, mentioning his ability to haul in everything thrown his way, and that will endear him to his quarterback very quickly. This is a player to keep an eye on through training camp and preseason, as he could emerge as the top contender for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
The Cowboys are now on the clock. The Panthers are now on the clock.
Okay, now we back to square one. It's hard to square up. Everybody got come, mama cries, dead sons. Lord, please bless them. Back to the party. I'm just pouring my. Don't get face that before, so I live it up. When I come, better get them up. That's a floss track, better get them up. I'ma keep eating, it's a dinner rush. I'll let you finish up. Flock of diamonds, I can promise I'm being honest. This being modest. I am your highness, I am the finest. You rappers, plus you a liar. Don't idolize it.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
I'm a better me, more clever.
The Rams are now on the clock.
We surfing, baby, new age. That's a certain, baby. Let's take a ride. Put your for the ones that die. It's vows tonight. Just you and I get lost tonight and lose your mind. I'm it. I'm it. I'm it. I'm it. I'm it. I'm it.
The Titans are now on the clock. Pick's been made. Let's go to Adam Schefter to hear more about the player.
When I ask scouts around the league what his biggest asset is, they always point to his father. His dad is a high school coach that knows how to consistently finish in the top of the school's division. And ever since he was able to walk, he's been on the sidelines for every game. Even after he leaves practice at night, he's still getting advice from his dad at home. And from what I've heard from scouts who've watched him play, you can tell the extra coaching has helped. Even during interviews at the Combine, I was told by several GMs that he was one of their favorite players to talk to. He has his dad's eye for the game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him become a coach one day himself. I like him a lot, and he'll be a great addition to the team.
It's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Got a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me stare like second nature. Says disappear like second nature. On the same block like an hour later. Whole team eating but it's only right.
Vikings just made their pick. Adam, what can you tell us about him?
He left the Combine looking like the fastest guy in this position group, which is kind of a big deal. Some scouts remain skeptical of his speed, but he proved them wrong again at his pro day. Few players at Indy looked as in control of their bodies as he did. He showed great knee bend on turns, kept a good center of gravity, and looked explosive on each first step. He wasn't talked about much before, but when he established himself as one of the more agile players at his position, everyone took notice. This is a great pick by the GM, and I know several teams will be upset they missed out on him.
Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Got a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me sad like second nature. Say you're gonna do it, yeah, I haven't did it. I'm handling it, handy with it. Think I'ma do it, let that do it. Bang, stick jam like what happened to it. Was it not working, bruv? Why you think I'm lurking, bruv? Creep on him, lean on him, witnesses eavesdropping. Keep popping, then keep bopping like I ain't seen nothing. Don't make me upset, reach for an object. Who's that in the passenger? Brown skin, got big body. In my face, on me. Money, I got that for me. You're not popping, never pop nothing. Stop bluffing. Your opinion, always destined for brilliance. Wouldn't rest on a million, dressed as civilians. All them masked up looking creepy. Park up, jump out, jump in. Skirt out like it's too easy. If anybody else didn't see me, doing styles on them like it's common sense. Hopped out the Benz like it's common sense. Put a monkey on my feet like it's common sense. Got gorillas in the streets like it's common sense. Stack the money heads up like it's second nature. Gotta stay pulled up like it's second nature. Keep a chip in my ear like it's second nature. Big make me sad like it's second nature.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
It's in the genes, you know what I mean? all the types.
Honorable C notes.
Yeah, little fish. I say, Lord, be my savior when it comes to getting this paper. Please protect me from my haters. Just say me and I won't save her. Say amen.
Chiefs have just made Dorsey their newest player.
Like football, rugby's a sport that's played with guys of all shapes and sizes. In his case, he was one of the big guys pushing and pulling blocks in the center of the pitch. He was playing rugby for a university in Australia before he was recruited to transfer and play football for 2 seasons here in America. His first year was spent adjusting to the game, getting used to the different rules and how to play his position properly. The guy even had to adjust how he tackled now that he had to wear pads and a helmet. But his second year is really where we started to see what he could potentially do. He's a physical player at the line of scrimmage. The team was able to pick up a good addition to its line with a bit of an interesting history.
The Titans are now on the clock.
I feel guilty, I might as well just plead my case. I say, Lord, be my savior when it comes to getting this paper. Please protect me from my haters.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
Amen, amen, amen. Bad boys and they can't win. Falling too fast to prepare for this. Tripping in the world could be dangerous. Everybody circling as vultures. Negative, nepotist. Everybody waiting for the fall of man. Everybody praying for the end of times. Everybody hoping they could be the one. I was born to run, I was born for this.
Whip, run me like a racehorse. Pull me like a ripcord. Break me down and build me up.
Go to Shefty now with more on Sullivan.
He's a Heisman-winning defender. Let me say that one more time. He won the Heisman, and he's a defensive player. Need I say more? You can imagine how well he played this season to win the biggest award in college over several offensive playmakers. The trophy was well-deserved, and according to Matt Miller, he projects really well as a defender in the NFL. I think this is a home run pick, and it's great to see a defender get some well-deserved recognition.
Looking at my body feeling miserable. Always hanging on to the visual. I wanna be invisible. Looking at my years like I'm martyrdom. Everybody needs to be a part of them. Never be enough from the prodigal son. I was born to run, I was born for this.
Whip, run me like a racehorse. Pull me like a ripcord. Break me down and build me up. I wanna be the slip. Word upon your lip. Rather that you rip. Break me down and build me up. Whatever it takes. 'Cause I love the adrenaline in my veins. I do whatever it takes. 'Cause I love how it feels when I break the chains. Whatever it takes. Yeah, take me to the top. I'm ready for whatever it takes. 'Cause I love the adrenaline in my veins.
I do what it takes, but critical, egotistical. Don't wanna be the parenthetical, hypothetical. Working onto something that I'm proud of. Out of the box, an epoxy to the world and the vision we've lost. I'm an apostrophe. I'm just a symbol to remind you that there's more to see. I'm just a product of the system of catastrophe, and yet a masterpiece, and yet I'm half diseased. And when I am deceased, at least I go down to the grave and die happily, and leave the body of my soul to be a part of me. I do what it takes.
Whatever it takes.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
In my veins, I do whatever it takes. 'Cause I love how it feels when I break the chains. Whatever it takes. Yeah, take me to the top. I'm ready for whatever it takes. 'Cause I love the adrenaline in my veins.
I do what it takes.
Montana.
You know, I'm like, yeah,
The Packers are now on the clock.
man.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Bears are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock.
Like Jodeci, but don't you be too close to me. Them goons you see, let it go for me. I bring them things, I bring them things. I call them, he bring them things.
All right, team is now off the clock. Adam Schefter, can you tell us about their newest player?
Well, after facing relatively easy competition in college, a lot of scouts wanted to see how he would perform at the All-Star game. The results were a little disheartening. Of all the quarterbacks who participated, he seemed to struggle the most. Every drive he was involved in ended in either an interception or a fumble. A few scouts told me he struggled learning the offense through practice, and it clearly showed on game day. He may have difficulty picking up a new playbook, but that didn't stop a team from pulling the trigger on him. Let's see how he develops.
Made for poodles. I'm thinking about the LaFerrari coupe. 1.8, the option is the roof. Greens is a secret to the youth. Your goals are malnourished. Please spit the juice. Y'all be vaping, I be laden. Yes, y'all be aping. I'm Richard Mill Nation. No diamonds, just tourbillon facing with gears and sprockets with the sapphire casing. When I pull up, they notice me. Come and talk to me like Jodeci, but don't you be too close to me. Them goons you see, let it go for me. I bring them things, I bring them things. I call them, he bring them things. Mucho, I bring them things. Looking so expensive, rings and things. I bring them things. I bring them things. I bring them things.
little story about a kid from Morocco. Had to show Carlito I was Benny Blanco. Check it out. Raindrop, all set. Plug, we the outlet. Child put me in the box, I'm in the box off. All the face shorty, socks off. Nat Miller, Reggie Miller, the killer, Canaries, Black Stiller, White Villa, Fresh Vanilla, garage like a kill himself. Lauren Hiller, get up. Crib Calabasas on the hill. I had him morning, plate. Beatles on the red carpet. Alcatraz bars, crash cars, ain't no future in front. My homies rip your mask off.
When I pull up, they notice me. Come and talk to me like Jodeci, but don't you be.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
You see, let it go for me. I bring them things, I call them, he bring them things. Mucho, I bring them things. Looking so expensive, rings and things. I bring them things. Bring them things. I bring them things.
Yeah. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Ay, yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Ay, every day. Shot calling, I'm a spray. Make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a spray. Make it rain just to let you know. Tell a hater get up on my face. Yeah, I've been ballin' since like yesterday.
The Bills are now on the clock. The Colts are now on the clock.
Make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'.
The Saints are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock.
Just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a straight. Make it rain just to let you know. Yeah, you cannot see me, the windows is tinted.
The Chargers are now on the clock.
You driving around that Bentley, but your shit, it should be rented. But that is none of my business. Money won't stop me, go straight to the top. Believe it or not, you like getting the same. Yeah, she know I'm a rock star. Looking at my chain, on my diamonds right hard. Turned the way up, I ain't getting tired. And if you wanna race, then we gonna ride. Yeah, you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, you know. Every day I'm shot calling, I'm a spray. Make it rain just to let you know I've been ballin'. Yeah, I've been ballin'. Yeah, just to let you know I'm ballin'. I'm a spray. Make it rain just to let you know.
Today to talk about how I feel, and I feel like that we are treated differently than other people, and I don't like how we're treated, and just because of us doesn't mean anything to me.
It's just the way I feel. Mine's been racing so long, yeah. It's just no way to deal with these problems alone. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my lord.
The Browns are now on the clock.
And I really can't help it.
never felt selfish before.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
I know. Tell me, Logie, you help me. I said, Logie, you help me. Now everybody got problems, yeah, but waiting no one way to solve them. I really came up from the bottom, struggling my mama on the last dollar. Hustling, man, I've been putting in these hours. The government been trying to take away with ours. Really all about the money and the power. I just want to see my people in power. Tell me how we gon' shape this vision. Complaining all day, but in the same condition. If you wanna make change, it's gon' take commitment. Some people enslaved by their religion can't emancipate the fundamental principles. What I see through optics transform the wisdom. Watch me use my prophets, get them on the list, and I've been on a mission. And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless, and I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Tell me, Logie, you help me. I said, Logie, help me. Now everybody got fights, yeah, but wouldn't know what good advice was. Till they leave him lifeless. Another mama crying, it's another crisis.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Righteous, are you willing to make the sacrifices? I know we can't continue living like this, and I never sell my soul cause that's priceless. Tell me how we gon' make a living. Hustle on the block, who gon' save the children? Man, it's all a plot and I'm just revealing. The media just trying to make a villain. I just take the pain and paint a picture. Voices in my head, I hear the whispers.
The Rams are now on the clock.
And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm young and I'm restless, and I really can't help it. I never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. Tell me, Logie, you help me. I said, Logie, help me.
It's just the way I feel. Mom's been wasting so long. It's just the way.
The Lions are now on the clock.
And I really can't take it no more. I've been fighting temptations, my Lord. I'm living on restless.
I said, Logie, help me.
I've never felt selfish before. I've been living so reckless, I know. To me, Logie, you help me.
I said, Logie, help me.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
I said, Logie, help me.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
I said, Logie, help me.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Young Gerald. Yeah. Yeah. Die line with the boom pow.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
212s in the back just blew out. Everything I do end up in the news now. Yeah.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Hollywood, and they do. I'm in the mood now. 2 a.m. What you wanna do now? What you wanna do now? Little baby, pass. Don't spill on.
The Giants are now on the clock.
She look familiar. At Coachella, what's her name? Isabella, forget it, yeah. It's like a week ago, but we both know how weekends go. Tryna function, got some places we could go. Lockjaw got me speaking slow like, I'm
Go to Shefty now with more on Sullivan. Well, he was creeping up draft boards around the league until he took a big hit late in the season that knocked him out for weeks. Unfortunately, when the combine invites went out, he was still rehabbing from corrective surgery. Without his combine numbers, it became difficult for scouts to compare him with other players in his position group. His pro day didn't help much either, as he looked much worse than he did before the injury. I've heard from a source that the team had a workout with him where they did their own evaluation of his health. I guess they must have liked what they saw to have just drafted him now.
when she knocked at the front door. Next up was the uproar. Yeah, was like a week ago, but we both know how weekends go. Tryna tuck off, got some places we could go. Swear she got the like wow, she's blessed, I'm blessed. I don't GA. You tryna yes on yes on yes on yes.
Say less.
Sheesh, what you saying? I don't understand. I'm out my mind, I popped. Sheesh, I swear this lock shot got me stuttering. Girl, you not fall in love again. Sheesh, get it, my favorite rush. You talkative, ain't gotta say too much. Be quiet, who got some grapes? I'm trying to. I'm all ball for these. Get it, not complicated. No conversation, get it, not complicated. No conversation, please say less. Please say less. Please say less.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Yes on yes on yes on yes. Say less. Say less. You ain't no. Say less. Say less. Say less.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
You ain't no. Say less.
People tryna say I'm only enemy. Got a code with my dogs, can't get in between. I can give them life, no more energy. Man, amen. Spent about 60 on the time, I can't even lie. No way in, no way out, do or die. So on roll, when I roll, must be. Amen, man.
I can't ride Benz, I don't do peace. I beast, I gotta eat. Saber tooth, tiger, diamond tooth teeth. Rockin' right now, won't you come peep? I was outside. The way that shake, leave your mouth wide. You need to say grace for you say thanks.
Amen, what's left in my life, don't know what's in store. I've been dealing with these blessings that I can't ignore. Putting up the numbers, we ain't keeping score. Amen. I here on the block, my side. Run it in the house for us 12 o'clock. Yeah, the hood love me, but you gotta watch. Amen.
I just three, I don't do sleep. Yeah, tryna sing. UV. Yeah, we gon' fall through, coming through deep.
Amen.
Yeah, packed it from the south, moved it to the west. Iced the logo on the cross, threw it on my neck. Yeah, when I rep the set, gotta stay blessed. Yeah.
Amen. People tryna say I'm only enemy.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
In between, I can give them life, no more energy. Amen.
Man, what it meant to me. Everybody tryna take the identity. Everybody around me turn to a friend of me. Sit back while I take on a remedy. I cannot let it get into me. This playing a toll on me, meant to me.
The Packers are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Buccaneers have just made Green their newest player.
There have been plenty of incredible moments in college football history, but rarely do you see a game end in a safety. Late in the fourth quarter, his team was down, and its opponent was trying to run out the clock. However, he came hard off the snap, demolished two blockers, and crashed down on the quarterback before he even had time to hand off the ball. That safety was enough to give them the win and send his draft stock soaring. His raw strength alone was enough for this team to take a chance on him, and we'll see if he can develop into a dominant defensive lineman.
The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Redskins are now on the clock.
Put my problems in. Only check up when the checks.
They've just gone with Nixon. Adam, smart move?
Every running back that played against him hated the experience as he netted the most tackles for a loss of any player this year and setting a new school record along the way. As Matt Miller put it, he has a knack for watching the ball, never being fooled by the play action, and getting to the ball carrier in the backfield. He had the ability to single-handedly shut down an opponent's rushing attack in school, but we'll see if that translates to the NFL.
Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to get me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah. Know your place.
Ware is no longer there. Adam, what do you have on him?
Well, he hasn't gotten a lot of attention from the media. His name has been circulating around the front offices the past few weeks. To find out why, I spoke with Matt Miller. He told me his performance at the Combine caused them to go back and look at his game film one more time. And what they found was his team made a scheme change in his final season that forced him to shift to a new role he wasn't exactly comfortable in. To draw a comparison, they looked at his first 3 seasons before the change, and he looked like a much different player. The speed and level he played at matched what they saw him do back at Indy. He rose up draft boards across the league, and they're very lucky to have picked him up before anyone else could.
25 hours every day. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Pull up with the bands, have them dancing in the rain. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to get me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah. Know your place, yeah, know your place, yeah. I got like right now, I'm impatient. I got women on the cell trying to get me. I still wish it would, I still wish them well, yeah.
The Cowboys are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock.
I've been rolling on the freeway, I've been riding 85. I've been thinking way too.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
You gonna drive? I got anger in my chest. I got millions on my mind, and you didn't fit the picture, so I guess you want the vibe.
LOV on my right leg, that's Gucci. Dig what I'm saying? LOV on my man, that's Gucci. Dig what I'm saying? Caught a little jet lag, but I'm golden. Yeah.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
They deserve whammies, they impop.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Project homies, it's a vibe. I just put the homie, it's a vibe. Over switch sides, it's a vibe. Yeah. I gon' do it. I gotta accept that I'm a. Yeah. I pull up in several different options. Yeah. That I will most ever. I shatter your dreams with this cream I make. What? Gotta be on the thinker. I say. What? I can't feel my toes, but ain't gon' fold up. I was in the double law when I rolled up.
I've been rolling on the freeway, I've been riding 85. I've been thinking way too much, and I'm way too gonna drive. I got anger in my chest, I got millions on my mind, and you didn't fit the picture, so I guess you want the vibe. I've been rolling.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
Riding 85, I've been thinking way too much, and I'm way too gonna drive. I got anger in my chest, I got millions on my mind, and you didn't fit the picture, so I guess you want the vibe.
Dig what I'm saying, Chanel drapes on me daily. Dig what I'm saying, sponsored by Mercedes. Dig what I'm saying, this Creek cologne is on me, maybe. Dig what I'm saying, I'm going hard, yeah. I pop in your memory. You should be glad I'm showing you sympathy. I gave you real love out the gutter, Never let you go, you go.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
I gotta accept that I'm a. I pull up in several different options, yeah. That I but most of them. I shatter your dreams with this cream I make. What? Gotta be on the thinker. I say, what? I can't feel my toes, but they gon' fold up. I was in the double law when I rolled. Yeah.
I feel like I should be giving up. You can't leave it.
Our very own Adam Schefter has more to say about this pick.
Scouts I've talked to expressed a great deal of frustration with his inconsistent play throughout the season, saying it made it near impossible to evaluate him in 11-on-11 situations. Even with this being said, there was significant interest in the big tight end, many believing that with the right coaching and confidence building, he could develop into a dominant player. This pick is a bit of a gamble, with the hope being a clean slate can help him exercise the demons that prevented him from reaching his full potential in college.
When you hear my name, a king is born. I told you before, a king is born. I told you before, a king is born. Oh yeah. No. Like a beast in the jungle, in the heat of the rumble, I ain't got nothing to lose.
The Jaguars are now on the clock.
These hard times, in the ghettos of my mind, that was victory that I choose. Yes, my soul is blessed, the king is born. Mama, I confess I'm a bad, bad man. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown is gone, is nothing. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Like a bull in a glass house, no bull about to smash out. Can't nothing stand in my way.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
From the penthouse to pavement, you better hear what I say.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
The king is born, mama, I confess I'm a bad.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Ain't no one like me.
The Giants are now on the clock.
Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. 'Cause I've been down so long that my crown is gone, is nothing. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. King is born. Yeah. I told you before. Yeah. A king is born. Been broke before, but I never been broken. I told you before. I am the truth now, the truth has spoken. A king is born.
The Titans are now on the clock.
Oh yeah, a king is born. Yeah.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
Oh yeah, ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Long that my crown is gone, is nothing. Ain't no one like me. I'm a legend. King is born.
Yeah, pulling up with the coupe. Oh my goodness. Must have done.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
You sitting looking stupid on the stoop. Oh my goodness. I would take notes if I were you. Oh my goodness. This was designed with the stars, the square and the cross, so we know true north. Oh my goodness. Smiling with 50 carats in my jaw. Oh my goodness. The law, it's a shame, rhyme. Crime. It's a shame they let us jump out of Bentleys with dirty vans. Hit the stage for 15 minutes, get 30 bands. Swiss bank counting clean money with dirty hands. With some hood that's ready to with the Since I came in and made my name a name brand. French Paris clubbing like a caveman. We threw up the pyramids, now they say we Illuminati. I'm a tsunami, what the it's a little yachty. No blood diamonds, I rock gold like a king. Jury so cold, made them blow the nose off the Sphinx. You think I'ma be some type of role model? I go full throttle.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Vic in Chicago is Hugh Hef at the grotto. Brazilian model, she mean mugging like Frida Kahlo. Drinking it with an Alicia Machado. I'm the ticket, you just hit the lotto. Pulling up with the coupe. Oh my goodness. Must have done same.
The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
Looking stupid on the stoop.
Oh my goodness. The Ravens are now on the clock.
Oh my goodness. This was designed with the stars, the square and the cross, so we know true north. Oh my goodness. Smiling with 50 carats in my jaw. Oh my goodness. The law, it's a shame, rhyme. Young Vic, the diamonds, finest. I shine like puff shine, shines if I sign to the rock, cause I'm timeless. Top off the Mozzie, my behavior is mindless. On kids, we major, you minors. Fresh out the cell to the booth, drop the booth. I'm still in the hood, tell, shoot.
The Broncos are now on the clock.
The judge, you rappers is false flagging, you a fashion.
The Texans are now on the clock.
What's Velo?
The Bengals are now on the clock.
Free big miss, I'm a star, chain swinging. This that music, you can blame Reagan. I'm ball mayin' without paying, y'all playing, we playing. My Himalayan, Gallardo, that's a sacrificial lamb. I'm seasoned cam, no matter, blam. Pulling up with the coupe. Oh my goodness. Must have done same with the roof. Oh my goodness. You sitting looking stupid on the stoop. Oh my goodness. I would take notes if I were you. Oh my goodness. This was designed with the stars, the square and the cross, so we know true north. Oh my goodness. Smiling with 50 carats in my jaw. Oh my
the Seahawks are now on the clock.
Rhyme, crime.
Every other night I'm outside with the you ain't got chips. The world, you got chips. You could the next man's girl. Sounds harsh, but they been ripped apart my world. The way Kiss told it should never be misquoted. The that you wave on the camera, we been toting. Selling love potion my whole rap career. So your streams and downloads could never match the kids. We could go foreign until it's boring. My sheep will keep jumping the fence until you're snoring. Street poetry, I'm more Wale for Lauren. Till the world is mine like Illmatic and Lauren.
Seahawks have just gone with Daniels as their newest player.
He's a very athletic defensive back, but if you watch his combine tape, you'll see why he's on defense and not a receiver. During the pass reaction drills at Indy, he had a hard time hauling in any of the passes thrown his way. Some passes he bobbled, some passes he missed by a fingertip, and at least one pass he flat dropped. He may be able to make a play on the ball with his agility, but I don't think he has the playmaking ability some teams want in their defensive backs. It'll be interesting to see how soon he gets on the field for this team early in the season.
Oh, you gotta hit the ground. Ain't no chain gonna hold me down. Dig deep, feel the burn. I've got a calling, so watch and learn. I heard a voice of his broken hymn saying,
The Browns are now on the clock.
I know you ain't there yet. Don't stop to catch your breath. You're going higher and higher, higher.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
Let go, set me free. Got the streets all I need. Going higher and higher, higher and higher.
The Panthers are now on the clock.
Boom, boom, can you feel the flame? Hold on, I can make it rain. Oh, do you hear the thunder? Don't don't let it bring you down. Look up and see the light. You're not alone, don't give up like that. Oh yeah, got a ways to go.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
I know you ain't done yet. Don't stop to catch your breath. You're going higher and higher, higher and higher. Let go, set me free. Got the streets all I need. We're going higher and higher, higher and higher. Oh, keep running. Oh, keep running. Oh, keep running. Reach out, reach out. Oh, keep running. Oh, keep running. Oh, keep running. Reach out, reach out.
The Rams are now on the clock. The Lions are now on the clock. The Vikings are now on the clock. The Jaguars are now on the clock.
I heard these always hating, said I never make it. I heard these always talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me cause he's on me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm shining. They ain't seen it when I'm young, out here grinding. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. Either way, young, getting paid, yeah. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm poppin'. They don't wanna put some money in my pockets. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, yeah. Either way,
The 49ers are now on the clock.
mad at me cause I'm tryna feed my.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
I don't bring my. No way, no.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
They ones and they here to stay, yeah.
The Giants are now on the clock.
I heard he's always talking with them. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me cause he's on me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah.
I heard he tryna lie me, but I ain't no dummy. It's okay though, God.
The Titans are now on the clock.
I spent 13 on the ring and now I feel unlucky. Hey, she love my diamond ring, she said she wanna touch it. It's okay, I get 30K just to hit the stage. Hit my Michael J. I get cake, I cannot complain. Been finessing since I was a kid. In the second grade, selling lemonade. Get paid, hold up, wait. Can I get paid? Yawn, in a break, feel like I'm in space. See a snake, kill a snake, get paid. Get left every day, so get your straight.
I heard he's always hating, said I never make it. I heard he's always talking with them. It's okay.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. I heard he's mad at me cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me cause he's on me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Yeah. Mad cause I'm trying to feed my family. Why I gotta watch a friend more than a.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
Got them both stunt with.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
You was supposed to be my dog, why you hate on me? They say success, turn your friends to some enemies. Hey, it's crazy, cause it's shining, now you act shady. Yeah, but I guess it's okay. My mama told me you would show me your ways. Yeah, but I gotta check with him. I had the bands, pull up in the land. Diamonds on me look like Ernie's always hating.
The Packers are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock. The Ravens are now on the clock.
I heard he's mad at me cause I'm getting money. I heard he's mad at me cause he's on me. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
The Broncos are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock. The Cardinals are now on the clock. The Bengals are now on the clock. All right, let's go to Adam Schefter, who's got more on this pick.
Many draft experts speculated that the rigors of his college career were catching up with him and that his struggles were a result of playing through several nagging injuries and not an issue of talent drop-off. After some time off, he impressed with his raw numbers at the Combine, giving more than one GM confidence that his series of struggles was nothing to worry about. He'll likely be given the opportunity to challenge for the starting spot, making him someone to keep a close eye on throughout training camp and the preseason.
Rap the bottom, cause the bottom where we come from. Me no pray for little paper, need a lump sum.
The Colts are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock. The Browns are now on the clock. The Cowboys are now on the clock.
Don't blame me, I'm what the game made me, not what the fame made me. I won't let it change me, I'm the same man. I stay myself, I never change, yeah. Dirty so they treat me like a stain, yeah. Do whatever, get you paid, yeah. Rolling from the cradle to the grave, yeah. On my good, on my...
The Panthers are now on the clock.
I won't stop, yeah. Play with me, let it, yeah. Halo on me, Saint Laurent, yeah. Got me when it's cool, yeah. Keep one, move, yeah. You my little baby boo, yeah. I love you like my favorite color blue, yeah. Real spill, yeah.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
Don't blame me, oh, they just shame me. Had to get it how I got it on my own 2 feet. Don't blame me, I'm what the game made me, not what the fame made me. I won't let it change me, I'm the same man. I stay myself, I never change, yeah.
The Rams are now on the clock.
Yeah. Do whatever, get you paid, yeah. Rolling from the cradle to the grave, yeah.
The Lions are now on the clock.
I done came up, busting down the whole broke, it's that bad. Want your people swag.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
What is that?
The Jaguars are now on the clock. The 49ers are now on the clock.
Like rappers, I'm wrapped up on
The Falcons are now on the clock.
squeeze like asthma. It's red wrath when I wear wrath. Bear wrath when I wear wrath. Might invest into some rap shit. Lord, still shit wrath. And I'm dripping on rags. Rick gonna be the tag. Do the digital dash. Yeah, I'm boasting, never brag. Please don't touch my rap. Or the Crispin Nash. Alessandra Gucci glasses.
Adam Schefter now with the inside scoop on King.
As aggressive as a defensive lineman as you will find, here's a guy who plays with reckless abandon in his quest to bring down an opposing quarterback. Many I talk to point to this mentality as the reason why he ended up with a ruptured pectoral muscle and cracked sternum, ending his college career. A tendo Achilles allograft reconstruction was needed to repair the pectoral and graft it back into place. Procedure typically takes 12 to 18 months to return from, yet he was able to achieve medical clearance in just 7. What remains to be seen, however, is if his all-out style of play will have changed at all, knowing that an aggravation of the injury likely means an end to his career. Fans of the team should not be surprised if we see a much more passive version of him come this fall. The special shoulder pads he'll need to wear to protect the area could slow him down by themselves.
Diamonds on my neck and rolling on. Now I later got underbit flavors. I'm with my lifesaver. Ooh, feel like Darth Vader. I'm a boss, you know I might riff it. Ooh, right in my basement. Yeah. But you know that I'm gon' face it. Wait, that's the reason that they mad. Color Uzi, yeah, he made it.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
I would have breath.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
My basement, yeah. Once I got patience, yeah. I'm famous, yeah. Put my side beside Mark Jacob, hey. Making a place with my label. I get it, I count it. 100 on my table.
Sterling silver laces. That's rubies red, my skin too black to black.
The Packers are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
Was it up? Pockets full of men.
The Ravens are now on the clock. The Broncos are now on the clock.
Water CT.
The Cardinals are now on the clock.
Dragging on the floor.
The Redskins are now on the clock.
In it. I'm torching the road in these Gucci flames. Stuck to the pavement, they glued. I'm 2.5 million in the venue and 2,500.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
I'm cold like I'm sick with the flu. I cover my face and I'm spring summer 2002. Yeah, please don't touch my ride. In the grass, Teddy.
The Bills are now on the clock.
The hands ready. Please don't touch my ride. Shirt off, I'm Cam, ready. Dead stock in memory. Please don't pop my tie.
The Colts are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock.
I look up. So many. Oh my God. So many.
I done made sacrifices. So many.
The Browns are now on the clock.
I done gave up so much.
The Cowboys are now on the clock.
I sacrificed. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices. That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah. What you telling me? I sense the jealousy, I got telepathy, I got the recipe, I got the streets and I don't got no felony. Forward thinking, yeah, my mind is ahead of me. Mama said it's gonna be whatever you let it be. It's some homies I grew up with that's dead to me. It's some that I just met in debt to me. What's in common is they both pay respect to me. I get it.
The Patriots are now on the clock.
I came a long way from that Marvin and I pull out the driveway like I'm in a car chase speeding. And if my she know I'm leaving. No text, no call, but at airplane mode. Code, no P code, no time to change clothes. Same clothes, love if you're living by the same code. G code, leave. You do that to me, back to my destiny. Penthouse, bird's eye view, that's a nest for me. I got myself out of debt, so when you see me, know you somebody I'll never need. Sacrifices. So many sacrifices.
The Rams are now on the clock.
I done gave up so much free time, knowing time ain't free. I sacrificed it. My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead.
The Lions are now on the clock.
That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah. I cut the drama out my energy. Focus on an inner me, never on an enemy. And I done sacrificed my own time. I done sacrificed my own mind. I done sacrificed the club life. I done sacrificed my love life. But I cut the drama out my energy. Focus.
The Vikings are now on the clock.
Enemy. And I done sacrificed my own time.
The 49ers are now on the clock.
I done sacrificed the club life.
The Falcons are now on the clock.
Sacrifice the thug life. Diamond shining, ain't no dull light. Drop my top to get my mind right. Pull up in the Rari loud pipe. Them the dime, my wrist a Hyundai. Ooh, yeah, Gucci Python. Ooh, yeah, she play with her. Yeah, I bought that new charm. Pop on, I told her come see about. Come on, come see. The devil had entered my soul. My mama had beat the dot. The devil, my mama. Remember my grandma had told me you better be somebody. Hop in my seats, massaging. Watch how I lead the posse. I made a M deposit.
Paid all these dudes with the game. Sacrifice your strides for that stain.
The Raiders are now on the clock. The Giants are now on the clock. The Eagles are now on the clock.
That's we up one. Bad, dear savage. Take her to the mall.
The Steelers are now on the clock.
that's gonna wanna make your friends come.
The Dolphins are now on the clock.
Tell me. Why can't y'all recognize that we all came from?
The Packers are now on the clock. The Buccaneers are now on the clock.
We all came from.
The Ravens are now on the clock.
You gotta stay down, eh? Just some young, looking for a way out, eh? People watching, yeah, I gotta skip town, eh? Hit my phone if you need a home.
I done made sacrifices.
The Broncos are now on the clock. The Texans are now on the clock.
Free time, no time ain't free.
The Bengals are now on the clock.
My girl showed me love, she know I make sacrifices. And if it's real love, then you make sacrifices. To get ahead, man, you gotta make sacrifices.
The Seahawks are now on the clock.
That's how hungry my appetite is. Yeah.
I know my great auntie was a slave. I could only imagine all the sacrifice she made. I could only imagine all that she had to take. I'ma make sure all the she gave wasn't in vain. I sacrifice for your entertainment, boy. I'm Mr. Anderson in the Matrix. Shake the last name, it's all facts. In the human race, it's all about pacing. Look at all the ones I outlasted. I'm the one at the end like I count backwards. Never satisfied, details.
The Bills are now on the clock.
Sacrifice done.
The Colts are now on the clock. The Jets are now on the clock. The Chargers are now on the clock.
As we go on, like we do. When it's hot outside, I wanna just chill with you. What you need, to put your mind at ease.
The Browns are now on the clock.
In the summer breeze.
The Panthers are now on the clock. The Rams are now on the clock.
You feel the same, let me know. Feel the same, then let me know.
The Lions are now on the clock. The Vikings are now on the clock. The Jaguars are now on the clock.
Good, stop now, top down.
The Chiefs are now on the clock.
Open up the window. That girl is poison like Belleville DeVoe. We have a barbecue to do at 5. Swimming pool party in the back on the low.
The Raiders are now on the clock.
Plates of food will be laid out for free. Little kids, get down. I have a bus pull up with Tommy the Clown to do the jerk. Go to work and do
the Giants are now on the clock.
Hurt, playing Bombardier.
The Eagles are now on the clock.
For everybody to be boisterous, rock with Snoop Dogg and rejoice to this.
As we go on, like we do. When it's hot outside, I wanna just chill with you. What you need, to put your little mind at ease. There's a little sunshine in the summer breeze.
The Steelers are now on the clock. The Packers are now on the clock.
Yes, I do. What you got to lose?
Shined up my white walls, night falls. I'm feeling good. I'm doing things that you never would, like surfing with the sharks or shooting in the dark. Riding on a bike with my grandson at the park. Evolve while I elevate. Take flight, levitate. Breakfast for dinner. I'm cold as a summer ain't the winter. Finna, bender, Kona, on a 3-wheel motion. I'm headed to the ocean. Caravan full of cars, neighborhood stars. Up the boulevard we go till we can't go no more. It's me and mine, it's summertime. You go off and we go on.
As we go on.